So, and
Hello, and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Live Stream. All right, so this is going to be one day after Valentine's Day, but I'm going to be doing a Valentine's theme drawing today, showing how to take a pose, live action poses, anatomy of the body, simplify them for cartoon animation. That's what we're going to be doing on today's live stream. We are also going to be looking in the Growth, Development and Progress Facebook group, where we have had a rather spiffing post from one of my Real Animator Training Library members, who is very much doing their own thing now and is really created a great little scene. So we're going to go and have a look on that. As of yet, we have had nobody declaring hello in the chat, so we're just going to continue on regardless of that, which is good because we can keep the stream moving. But please do feel free, those of you who are watching, to ask me any questions. I'll be more than happy to take them and answer them for you. All right, so what we're going to do before we start doing our drawing is we are going to go and look into the Growth, Development and Progress group on Facebook, where one of my members has, let's see, am I getting a double mic, or this is the mic? Bear with me. There is no sound coming from this mic at the moment, so let's just get in there and sort that out for you. It's going to be that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we should have sorry, some sound coming. Mega Man, 87, how are you? Um, Happy Valentine's Day for Gracie Goodbear for yesterday. And how do you do, AMB? Thank you so much. Gracie Goodbear is exciting things are coming for Gracie Goodbear. So I'm glad that that you're here, Mega Man's 87. I think you are possibly Gracie Goodbear's #1 fan. So it's a good thing that you're here because we're not going to be doing much of her on the stream, but I'm going to be launching some Gracie Goodbear stuff in the near future. Cameron Alan Davidson Black, good to see you. Nice to have you online. Okay, hope you're doing well, Cameron. Akao the Warrior. Akao the Warrior, how are you? Good to see you. We have got Twiggish 3577. Awesome. I can be the honored one for Gracie. Why not? Why not? After all, I can't think of anybody who has had more enthusiasm for Gracie Goodbear than you, sir. So you've been singing her praises even when she got the sack from AMV Animation. Okay, right. Derp Sick. I hope I said that right. Hello, how are you? All right, very quickly, she's not online, but she might turn up. I have got Real Animator Training Library, one of the most outstanding members that I have in terms of exhibiting their work online. I've got a number of them, but one of them is Amberly, and Amberly is a extremely talented all-rounder, and she's just posted her latest little piece of animation that she's done, and I'm going to take a look at it, and I'm going to give her a few suggestions on what I think she could have done. I know she's focusing more on creating a finished colored rendering thing and in her style and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to still give her some pointers, what with her being training library alumni. Doing good here, got more drawings on the way, almost finished the advanced quadruped cycle. Excellent, Cameron. To quote Satoru, okay, throughout heaven and earth, I'm the honored one. Okay. Silver Sun, how are you? Good to see you. All right, let's have a look at Amberly's animation. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. All right, it's coming large on the screen. So I think the sound was recorded. I was watching Mark Pyler play Minecraft and heard him say this line and got a bit just. Hopefully we can get away with just playing the dialogue once or twice, and then I'll mute it and talk about the movement. Twiggish, I've watched some of your videos when I was a teen. Glad to see you still doing this 10 years later. Well, my pleasure. I started doing YouTube more than 10 years ago, but I was still in the industry along the side. And then slowly I wanted to get out of the industry because I could see where it was going. Everybody thinks AI is new, but real artists were always getting sidelined. The quality of the work was always being pushed away in favor of technology. Art was being replaced by technology 10, 15, 20 years ago. We could all see it happening. I felt a dip in my works, the standard of my work, and my way out was influencing and YouTubing and video instruction. And I'm going stronger than ever now. So thank you, Twiggish. Good to see that you've grown up alongside me. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm much happier here. I mean, the industry gave me a lot of good things, but it was a sinking ship, and I'm glad to be out of it. And I'm now much happier doing this. So I don't intend to be going away from this. It's far superior to being a cog in the machine of producing ever expendable content, which is getting more and more expendable and worthless and just background noise. I don't know if you heard many prominent actors in the industry and filmmakers are saying that the script writers are being told to write for two audiences, you know, because their audience is presumed to be looking at two screens, so they're predominantly on their mobile with the content of the film that the script writer is putting his heart and soul in the background. Now, if that's what they want on the script, then what do they care about the visuals, right? So I'm much happier doing this, inspiring people, and that's exactly what I have done, Twiggish. I mean, I've built a whole video training library, and we've been producing people like Amberly here, and Charlene in the chat, and Cameron, and many others, Silver Sun, Akal the Warrior, all amazing things. So really making a difference, a real difference, not just expendable content. All right, now let's have a look at Amberly's test and see what we can say about it.
Well, guess who's going to go on a midnight killing spree? This guy. Well, guess who's going to go on a midnight killing spree? This guy.
Okay, now we have got, I think, yeah, here's her. I'm going to put the sound down in case we get flagged, and we're going to look at the various continuations of it. This is, well, guess who's going to go on a midnight killing spree? This guy. Right. I'm just going to let it play so we can see. And this is my favorite one, Amberly. I like it where I can see the pencil lines and the roughs. I want to see this is what I want to see, your pose test. Now, this is where I really feel, Amberly, that we can help you. Right, you're using predominantly pose-to-pose here. So the animation's good, it works. And I'm not going to talk about the rendering and the coloring, which is your vision, which I know that's the vision you want to get out. You've been wanting to get this out for a long time. I've been following you. I've been seeing your little tests of trying to do this painterly look. Well done on that. Amazing. But I'm going to talk more about the animation, right? Because I know that you want to get more fluid, not fluid. I always say that fluid doesn't mean good animation. Fluid is fluid, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it's good animation, right? Many beginners and people don't understand that. I know you know that, Amberly. So while you've got a nice transitions from pose to pose going on there, it is kind of sort of like stop, start, lock into pose, lock into pose, lock into pose. And we want to take you to a level beyond that. So let's first have a look at the movement here. So he says hair well, I think. Yeah, hair, he says hair. Plus, I know he's like an out there kind of guy who's not necessarily all there. But a few little blinks in certain places, I think, would help also loosen him up a bit and give him, because it still, to me, is a bit rigid, this animation. So a little bit of malleable face stuff, a little bit more squash and stretch in the face, a little bit more like talking with the eyes, not over the top, not like double blinking everywhere, or I'm gonna just kind of priming you, and then we're gonna talk where we can put all this stuff in, because I think I'm overloading you at the moment, right? So he says, well, okay, so here, now I'm gonna turn the noise down. So here he says, well, right? So let's look at that. So there's a little turn here, right? And now there's a sudden eye directional change, right? With no blink at all, right? That's okay, but let's just see. So there's a sudden change with no blink. Up here, you could have added a blink here as it goes up just to follow it through. If you didn't want to blink there, I suggest you blink when you change. But if you want to kind of then I feel you'd have to do more with the eyes if you're not going to blink, right? Have we come up a little blink to kind of confirm that there's a thought process going on in his head, right? Well, guess who's gonna go on a mid? So here we've got him not blinking, just kind of closing his eyes, very happy with himself, right? Kind of like as if he's kind of midnight killing spree or whatever, if that's what he said, if I can remember, right? And then hair, so even hair, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Brace yourself. My apologies, right? So hair, even hair, there's no blink, right? It's all, we've just closed his eyes, no blink at all. Not one blink so far through this whole thing. Now another change of expression in the squash and stretch, right? But again, no, we've got a multiple there, but no blinks throughout. This guy, right? So even lovingly at the end, he could go, this guy, and like do a double blink. Now you might not want to put a double blink in there, but or just one little blink to give it. So there are certain areas where I think the blink would help, even at the very beginning. Like he's almost like, well, right, well. So also the way he says the dialogue, let's listen to it. So you've got him going into a shrug like, well, yes, he's going to go on a midnight killing spree. So here he comes up, well, guess who's going to go on a midnight killing spree, right? Now he's about to walk off. Now the timing in all of this is quite linear, because as he goes up here, there is a sudden move into the shrug, right? And there's a sudden move into this pose here, which is good because you've got those sudden moves into there. But before, all of the anticipation, all of the other aspects of the law is kind of linear. So the anticipation before the shrug, right, is that's okay, right? Then we've got all this. So then we've got this midnight killing spree. Here, this kind of wave movement that he's doing, it's the timing is quite linear. It might be nice if we had his hands on a various little kind of timing, like the hands on thirds and the body on half, and there's like midnight, sort of like, so you see this. Let me get both my hands in the screen. So you see like this kind of like wave effect, and then with the head coming back in there like that, right? So 1, 2, 3, and the head. So you want to think of the hands and the head as a wave, right? But then the timing would bring them all together. So here, when we look at it here, it's just like it goes down, right? And it doesn't have to be like over the top, like what I'm saying. It, you know, like wave, like midnight killing spree, right? That's over the top, like flowery, over animated crap, right? You want to be a little bit more subtle with this guy, yeah, you can do that, but I feel you need to loosen him up a bit more. Loosen him up in the eyes a little bit. 1 or 2 blinks throughout the whole scene would fix that. Also, just a little bit of offset timing with his head and body. Let's slow this action down here a little bit. All right, so we anticipate. Let's look at your timing into the shrug, right? So here, right? Here, as you go into the shrug, you miss something very important. Where's my pen? Okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for Storyboard Pro. Right, so here, let's put that down a bit. So here you got kind of like a pose like this, right? And his head's hair and his arms hair like this, right? Then you want to get him into the shrug, right? So I'm just gonna kind of like make the shrug up like that, right? You want to get him into the shrug, right? But what you're missing between hair and hair, right, is the down bouncing ball arc of the anticipation of that quick poppy movement, right? So even if it's just for one little frame, this thing comes up here like this, right? Now when he comes up into the shrug, right, this is called a take, right? We do the take in the anticipation flower sack lecture in the intermediate archive. So you see, even with this really dodgy stick man that I've drawn, Amberly, you see how that little bob there makes a world of difference. So here, your arc of motion, right? Your arc of motion is like a little head turn where it's kind of turning here, and then it comes up like that, right? Well, now you've got that quick little timing of the shrug, right? Now, say you said, but A and B, I don't want to do all that bouncy animation. I want to be a little bit more subtle, even though it's a cartoon character. Sure, you don't have to go like that, right? You don't have to go like that. But your arc is going here, right? At some point, when you bring your, no matter what I do, when I'm going like this, right? And I'm naturally like, you know, just a little bit of a down action before the up, right? So he's going to be turning here like this to this arc. You can have it kind of either come down or up like that, right? Which will create a nice little change in there. So let's say you want to be more subtle with this motion, right? So I'm going to take your drawing to the side here, and we're gonna I'm just gonna use those poses. It's not gonna be hard for me to very quickly give you a little bit better explanation into this. Right. So your first pose is something like this, right? See, this is where drawing kind of like, I try to tell people that it isn't a drawing that makes great animation, right? And this is why, again, people shouldn't be worried about AI, because the people doing prompting into AI are not animators, right? They're not even great animators, right? So let's say that this is your first pose here, right? Now I'm gonna just go into your next pose, right? Right, so then you hit into this shrug pose here, right? So let's hit into the shrug pose. Right. And comes up. Into the shrug pose, right? We can talk about how to improve these poses in a minute, right? I'm not going to go through the whole animation for you, but I'm going to go just possibly this little section here, and then I'll talk about how you can improve because a lot of work, as with all the stuff we've had before, a lot of your work goes into the finishing, right? And I still feel that even though you've done a lot of, you have improved immensely, no doubt about it. I still feel you're missing the trick on the roughs to really loosen up. So all of this can be easily remedied for you, Amberly, once you just are not so eager to draw in on top of your very loose roughs, right? So you've got this pose here, right? Now, presently, let's just see how my stream is doing. Stream all doing good, right? Great. So presently, these are your two extremes, and presently your key between them is this kind of arc like this, right? So you turn the head to a front, you kind of hunch the body this way, right? And you bring up the arm. So this is your anticipation, right? This is your anticipation into the shrug, right? So you still got him looking over this side, right? With his eye expression. Again, these expressions can be talked about later. I think just a few blinks would fix those, right? So we've got this, right? You've got like this kind of arc going along here, right? So it's like that. Now, what I would suggest you do, right? You've got his head looking down there anyway. I would personally alter this pose a little bit, right? I'm going to bring that back a bit, right? So let's say you don't want to go too far too far up, right? So I would have the head turn here, and I would make more on the down angle of his head, right? And let's not, I would blink him here, right? But let's keep it, let's say that you want his eyes open. You really want his eyes open in the anticipation, right? I personally would definitely blink him before the shrug, because in a cartoon sense, you're going to exaggerate that a lot more, right? I would also think about what I'm going to do with his ear position. So I will move his head lower, right? So the head would be lower, right? Like this. And I would bring his shoulder just a little bit higher, right? Just bring that, just feel that shoulder more so than the other shoulder, right? Feel that shoulder more so than the other shoulder. So you've got, still you're not going so far down, but your anticipation is reading a lot better, right? Because you're also kind of rotating his head this way. So then you have him come up, right? Now again, hair, right? Hair, as he comes up, right? So here's what you have, right? You have the turn with the sudden pop, right? You just jump into there's a bit more spacing here like that, right? And as he comes up, you kind of lock him into position, right? But if you look, you're kind of naturally doing it anyway. You just need to push it a bit more. So here his arms come up and lock into place. But this is like, what you could have here is you've got his head coming down anyway on itself, right? So as we come up into this, right? What you could do is you could keep his head keep his head higher, right? Have his head continuing going up. Right, I'm just gonna close his mouth, right? And do something like that. And then we're gonna lower his shoulders just a little bit, right? Like that, right? So just those two like continuations, and then following that continuation, you can have him go back into the straight kind of arc where you're kind of taking him along here like this, right? Where you're kind of taking him here, right? So I'm gonna lose this rough one here. So if we look, we've got him go down, goes a bit beyond to recoil, right? So we're anticipating down, so the arc is going, it's not going like this, it's going like this, and then it's going down and back again, right? Now, I know that you've also studied with Mr. Bluth, right? So, what Don Bluth always loved to do, because I worked with many of his animators, particularly on a movie called 8 Crazy Nights, where one of the supervisors there was talking about how Don Bluth loves his figure of 8 arcs, right? So this is essentially what we teach in real animator training, right? So the figure of 8 arc is going here, right? It's going down, it's going up, right? It's continuing up, right? And it's going back down again there like this, right? So I would have it like this. That's a true figure of 8 arc. So we go down, we go up, we come down, and then we go then we go into our next action, right? So there is our figure of 8 arc, right? So we've come down, we go up, and then I've got him going this way, but ideally it would be better to have him go into the next action, right? Like that. So what you have is your spacing, you're having some sudden moves in your spacing, and then you're holding it in place to see, but then you see these both arms, they come up together and the head comes down together in a very linear fashion, right? The timing's the kind of same, right? So either bring the head down and then the arms up. So, and then even this 2, 3, 4, this is, so the only real variation in timing that you have are these quick little movements into hair. So even this is the anticipation of the pose hair, right? And this anticipation works better because you have brought your character down, right? As we talked about before, right? Nice pose hair, brought the character down. As he comes up, and he, there's a sudden jolt into there, but then we kind of just slow into this position. So hair, you also, let's see, come on, which one? I want the S. So there you also want to go down and then beyond the point and then return if you're going to freeze him into position before he goes off to say this guy, right? Put another pose in there. So let me see how we're doing. Like a high speed to zip up close to the mouth, ease into recoil effect, watch all dogs go to heaven. Okay, yeah. Just seeing what people are saying in the chat. So there. So there we want to then hair. Now we have another little take here, right? which is what you've done with the little bob up. See, this is all good. This bit works. But again, you want to be careful because that's one of the problems that early Pixar animators had, and I believe still do, is they're always taking into their phones, taking into their phones, taking into their phones, taking into their phones. So your animation has that feel to it because you're kind of bouncing into a movement, bouncing into a movement, bouncing into a movement, right? And the way to get out of that was what I talked about a little bit earlier, where you have that little anticipation where you're a little bit more off with the timing before he anticipates here, where he goes this bit here, right? So you could have created a wave effect on his body, right? A subtle wave effect on his body. So what do I mean by that, right? So his body, let's say his body's this way, right? His body's this way. I'm not going to draw the character because I want to be quite... now his body's this way, right? Now his body's this way, right? So if his body's this way and his body's this way, that's a wave effect, right? So then, if his body is kind of like this way, then you may want to have his head, right? His head, I'll just put two little eyes on there to kind of make my point, right? So I will keep his head kind of central, right, like that, right? So then you want like the arms, if you've got like his arms up, you want his arms kind of waving a little bit, right? So you want a wavy effect on his arms, but you're not really gonna see that with this. So you want to think of the wave in the shoulders, right? So one's hair, one's hair, one's hair, one's hair, right? Like this. So we've got a wave in the shoulders there like that, right? So now I've got a wave opposite, right? In the shoulders like that, right? So we've got like this wave thing happening here like this, right? So that's going opposite there. Then you've got the wave in the hands, right? So we can have this hand like this, and then this hand like this. Now these are just two keys here, right? But where the magic happens is the way you time all this, right? So in the middle, let's say we're going to have the in-between waves. So the body is going to be kind of linear, right? The body's going to be on a half, right? The arms are going to be equally on a half with that body, right? So we've got boom, 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 like that. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so that's all good, right? But what we want to do is we want to do something different with the head, right? You're going to kind of keep the head rotated this way, right? Right? And then have it come here like this, right? So the head arc is different. The head's kind of like going this way, right? Let's make that clear for you, right? So the head is rotating this way. You see, this is why if you want to be a real animator, right, you don't be afraid of AI, because the people prompting AI do not understand this stuff. AI is more than capable of doing it with the right instruction, but real animators like to draw. So they're not going to want to be typing it all and getting the instruction back, right? So I doubt that real animators are going to want to be using AI unless they're being paid by big studios. But how many of them are going to be doing that, right? So here we're now like delaying the head, right? And now we're turning into this one, right? So then the wave of this thing is as we're going to also change the hand thing, right? So this hand, we're going to keep lower, right? I'm not suggesting you be this floppy, Amberly, right? I'm giving you some principles. Because I know you like to be cartoony, but you like to be subtle and dark. I understand you very well. But the only way that you're gonna get a certain result is by understanding these principles and playing with them and toning them down so that they're they're at the very root, but they're still there, giving that feel rather than being seen so much, right? So the hands are going to be at a different speed entirely, right? Playing follow through to the body, right? So then the head has got this sudden movement, which is going to lead him into his next position, right? And then you may even want to bounce the hands. So as we're slowing into this, we can like have a little bit of a wave. No, I don't want to slow into that actually. I actually want to bring the body back a bit to anticipate further because he's going to continue to go this way, right? So we wave there like this. And we keep the head going, right? We keep the head going. Right? The wave of the body is kind of, the wave of the arms is kind of calming down a bit, right? But we're going to bring his hands in, right? Bum, bum, bum. Then we're going to kind of bounce them together to twin them, right? Kind of twin that gesture. So both hands are kind of doing the same thing. Then you want to pop up into that, right? So what you had is after this pose here, right? This business here, right? You pop up into that pose, right? So as you pop up, you really want to delay those arms to give it that feel, right? So let's say that we oppose the wave here, right? And we have your arm here like this, right? And the head's open, the eyes are looking there like that, right? So it's like boom, 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 like that, right? Boom. So we anticipate back, then we come up. So in order to get to this, right? What you want to really do as a breakdown is we want to think about that first law of arcing, right? So we're continuing, that head is going down again, right? So I'm going to want to actually thrust the body up here, right? I'm going to keep that body on a reverse, but I'm going to thrust that body up. I'm going to keep those arms coming down, and we're going to see those hands splay to clasp into a fist, right? Those hands are going to splay to clasp into fists, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to possibly keep those shoulders shrugged, right? Like bum, 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 right? Then we're going to have him really hit into a stretch pose, right? Again. And then as we do that, we're going to have to see that effect of the fist clenching, right? So the fists are going to clench, and we want that to kind of delay itself on there, right? And we want to really, we got a lot of frames to play in. You don't have to just slow into the pose. You got a lot of frames to play in there like that. Then you're going to come up into that, right? Gonna bounce into that, right? So then here's where your slow is gonna be, right? Where you could actually really play by having that staggered bouncing ball effect, right? All right, having him come down just a little bit on himself, right? Drag those arms, boom, boom, come up into this, right? So what you have is you have something like this, right? So you see the hands in action, you see the head in action, right? And you feel the animation, right? It doesn't just get from go like linearly from one pose to the next pose, right? Now, of course, the thing I've just knocked out can be toned down. It can be toned down to match all this stuff. Finally, where you go to this guy, right, with that loving kind of look, even there you could have just had where he says, hang on, I'm trying to get in the camera, where he says this guy, right, this guy, just a little kind of like as if his thumb has punched his chin up. You could have put a little kind of loving thing at the end of it. If you don't want to do that, that's a very James Baxter thing. Every James Baxter move is. People like to say Milk Carl always does the neck grab on the soldier. Well, they love their James Baxter. All James Baxter does is raise the eyebrows, you know. Right? Nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying everybody has their own little thing, right? So you might just want to have him go this guy, right? But I do think that a nice little head shake or a nice little something, even if it's Stu gestures with his hand while he says this guy with a little nod or something, just to take it away from that bounce into pose, bounce into pose, bounce into pose, bounce into pose kind of mentality, where you're, even though like I've been showing you how to push the bounces, it's still, even you can push the bounces to the max and get the best possible animation that you can out of it, but it will still have that feel of bounce into pose, bounce into pose, bounce into pose. Just by adding a little bit of that stuff, you're adding like a drum, like instead of having a drum beat of, you're like, or something to change up the rhythm, to break the rhythm up. That's why we like music. That's like we like everything. So even when the way we move, you're going to want to act, you want to kind of have a little bit of broken, spontaneous rhythm in there. So that's my little, how long have we spent on this? How long have we given Amberly? I don't even know this. Let me go to my YouTube. 47 minutes of feedback. Not bad. There we go. So there we go. So that's my little bit of feedback for you, Amberly. Obviously, we can go on for a lot more, but I thought it would be good to look at your work and share with you my thoughts. Now, what am I going to do? So let's just have a brief look at, while we're in the group, at anything, if there's anything else. Cameron is continuing to post. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Cameron, what I see here is what I see from all these posts of yours is it's good that you've learned this from Real Animator Training. It's good that you've learned the skeleton. But what I feel is where I feel you're kind of plateauing is you're going through the motions. You're doing a pose and then you're just putting the skull there and then you're remembering all the ribs and things. What I want you to do is let's have a look at your drawing here. Let's have a look at some of these drawings. Okay, got this one here. Right, so I want you to really, really try and feel like, let's take a look at this one here. And you don't have to do it with just the bone game, right? I want you to start, if the pelvis is doing this and the arms are doing this, right? It isn't so important that you draw in all the ribs, right? You know what the ribs are, you know what true ribs are, you know what false ribs are and all that. What's important, Cameron, is that you understand what's going on with the spine, right? So you got the thoracic spine here. You don't have to draw in each one, right? You've already familiarized yourself with lumbar, thoracic vertebrae and all that, right? You got your sacrum here. So then here's the pelvis. Now, you're going to want to really think about having that pelvis, okay, going along that shape, right? So we've got the pubis bone here, greater, lesser wing. We don't have to go in and do all the ischiasm and all that, right? Leave it rough, right? It's more important that you focus on really trying to figure out what's going on. So the greater trochanter won't be locked in here, right? What'll be happening, right, is it's coming out here, right? Because the weight is coming up here, it's coming out here like this, right? And then it's going in on itself. Now I'm just going to draw straight lines to where your legs are, right? That's how we're going to figure this out, right? So then this one is coming out and it's coming in, right? So then the patellas are generally together to the point where they are, right? Then you're going to go just along the line. You don't really have to draw the fibia, right? You can draw the fibia if you want to, but the main thing is, Cameron, is that we, even with the feet, you don't have to put in all that stuff, right? I feel your energy will be better spent, right, figuring out these things and trying to understand what's happening, right? I feel that my rib cage is a little on the small side, right? So then here, what the main thing to understand here is the scapula, right? Although we've got this counterbalancing, the arm is raised, so the scapula, now the scapula will stay here, but I will exaggerate it purely just to emphasize that I know what's going on with the scapula, right? And this one will be more turned to the side of there, like that, because the arm is coming this way in front of the body, right? So I will do something like that with the scapula, right? I'm not going to be trying to draw in all the rib cage because I'm focusing on the scapula and those things. Again, we've got the arm coming up here. Now, why I'm picking this pose is that I'm going to show why this anatomy skeleton is so powerful, right? And Cameron, I feel that you can make some real exponential growth by now discarding trying to do every bone and all these things and really just focusing on the on what's actually happening to the body, right? Same with the skull, right? You just have the calvira there. You can just split it in half, and then there's your nasal bone with your maxilla, right? And then there you can have that. You don't try to make a work of art out of the skull. Save that for another day. Save that for some other time, for facial studies. For facial studies, figure out the skull. But at the moment, we want to focus on this stuff here. Why this is so powerful, and I know you know a little bit of anatomy, it's muscles as well, but I'm going to take you through why this is so powerful, and I'm going to show you is like when I want to do a pose of something, right? Let's just say that we've got somebody leaning, right? Somebody leaning, they've got a drink, right? Right, they're leaning like that. Their hips like that, and their other leg. See, I'm working out the skeleton first, right? The foot's this way. Maybe it's like this, right? The classic pose, right? So this is what I'm trying to figure out. This is almost parallel, which it shouldn't be, right? But what's actually happening is this is coming down here, but this is creating the illusion. So that's why I was telling you to focus on the scapula, right? So this is actually coming down. Right, so let me just dim this for a minute so you can get a clear view of what I'm talking about here. Why this is so powerful, and you're learning the right thing, Cameron, but you're kind of just going through the motions, I feel, right? So, and do not copy what I'm doing here on the screen, right? Copy it, take it in, but do not copy it. Try to do it on your own. Try to do it on your own, right? It's not about following what I'm doing right now. It's about absorbing the information, right? So here we have got, let's talk about the hip, right? So I'm not gonna be drawing too much of hip in, just hip and rib cage. This is why I had you doing this, Cameron, so we can really understand what's going on here. Now, it doesn't have to be why I don't care so much about teaching muscles, although I highly recommend you learn muscles. But because with, I don't know if my streaming has stopped right now. Am I still streaming? Let me know if I'm still streaming, because I've got a feeling that my connection is going to cut out. So I will have to come back and reconnect in a minute. Okay, so what we have here is, I'm not going to go, you must learn muscles, but we don't really teach muscles as much in the training library, because this is where I will show you first with muscles, but then how it all basically it can turn into cartoon shapes or anything, which is what we're going to be doing on the next part of the stream. So let's say that this is our skeletal figure, right? Basic skeletal figure that we've done, right? Now, I'm going to think about the legs. So on here, I'm just going to put what we call a rectus femoris, which touches the rectus femoris. No, that's at the back. This is a vastus lateralis, right? And this comes along here like this. And then we've got the, no, vastus lateralis. Yeah, this is rectus femoris. Biceps femoris is along the back, yeah. Then we've got a patella tendon which runs down there like that, right? Now, in there we've also got the muscle which connects to the ischium, which is the gracilis, right? And then we've got the same thing happening here, right? The patella tendon, then the gastrocnemius and the gastrocnemius, right? Here like this, right? Actually, that would come out from the side where that bone is like that, right? Now from there, right, we've got the midsection, so the belly button will be in line there like that. And there we've got the rectus abdominis, right? Coming here like this. And the external obliques, right? Here the pectoralis, right? And then the deltoids here. So at the moment, you can see that muscles are great to learn, right? But why we learn the skeleton first is because the muscles have to sit somewhere on that skeleton, right? So I'm even drawing a bit of the skull in there too, right? The muscles have to sit somewhere, right? And we can fill up the muscles and make them more, right? They've got to sit along somewhere, right? The foot can have like that. Now, let's just say we didn't want to do it with muscles, right? Or we wanted to do it with you've just learned a very basic form of construction, right? And you don't really know muscles, and you're used to drawing your basic construction. I think you should learn muscles, right? But let's say you just want to do your little tube man, along there like that, right? You can do your little tube man along the bones, right? You can do it like that. And this is how most people draw who don't really know anatomy and muscles, right? They just know enough to draw like this. You know, plenty of people who animated on the X-Men or shows like that didn't really know all the muscles of the body or bones of the body, but they just knew that, and they just knew enough. And you can see how you can actually, you're not limited by the anatomy being so exact, and you can actually start throwing in exaggeration, right? And we start having really nicely exaggerated poses. So this could be Dirk the Daring having a drink, right? Could be Dirk the Daring from Dragon's Lair. His waist would be thinner, right? And his boots would be a lot bigger, right? So let's say that you want your character to be completely different, right? So we'll take the same pose, right? But I won't draw on the muscles. I'll draw on the, because the proportions will be different. So say you've got like, that's the rib cage, right? That's the legs. And we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing this more using a photograph later in today's stream. So let's say that you want a super fat guy, right? So I'll figure out where his leg, where his legs are. I want his torso to be a big shape like this, right? So his little legs are going to go down here, right? So we're just going to adjust them a little bit, but the same deal, right? So this is all going to be here, this shape, right? This is where the rib cage is. This is where the chest is. This is where the arms are going to sit, right? This is where the other arm is going to sit. So this is how our cartooning is superior to, this is why anatomy has to be in cartooning, right? Good anatomy will be in cartooning, right? And then here we've got the hip with the belly coming underneath, and we can really play with the shape of the legs. So then we can go beyond the anatomy and cheat it to make a more interesting silhouette, right? Give him a big head like that, right? So that's one thing I want you to do, Cameron. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to find another artist that you like, or graphic design depictions of anatomy that appeal to you, for you to work with simple shapes. Because you've learned the real shapes, right? And now I personally would simplify them into my own shapes. I wouldn't look at another artist, right? But one of the ways that helps you learn and become better, and it's helped me, as you can see, like I've been studying Milt Kahl and all those guys. I've been working and learning all the various shapes, right? So that these people use, like curves against straights, right? Harsh against soft, right? Now this is the way I teach it, right? So I would look for the rib cage in a curve, right? But then I will find my straights to kind of balance. So the chest is a curve, but we have these straights here, right? Again, the curve of the pelvis. And then again, if I'm going to deal with the legs, right? Let's just have one leg up here and his hands on his hips, right? So again, I will do that thing. I will then figure out my muscles, but then I will chisel into it, right? I want you, Cameron, to start being graphic, right? Now, you can either do it using examples like what I've shown here, like I'm using real harsh shapes here, right? Because my groundhopper character, I love showing the musculature of his arm, right? I like to just have that bicep, that tricep, you know, the delt going on there, and then and then I just start to put my design on top. This is what will give your drawing, take your drawing, because Cameron, right now you've got a lot of knowledge, but now that knowledge needs to be refined in a way where you can put in stylization, right? So the stylization that I want you to research and look into is curves against straight, right? And you will find in lots of things, you'll have the jaw, for example, and the chin, and then this side will be a curve, right? Curve. Again, the ear, you'll have a curve against the straight at the bottom, or if it's going to be completely curved, right, there'll be some form of straight along the side. You can look at various designs and they all do this. Doesn't matter what style. So anime, for example, has a lot of straights and it's very flat, but then they balance it. So they would have a face which is like this, right? But then they will have curves all over the hair, right? To kind of sort that, balance that out. Then they'll have also the very kind of straight eyes, right? But then you've got this curve within the eyeball, right? Coming within there like that, right? To give it some kind of, also they'll have some kind of curve in the costume as well, right? Balancing with harsh, I don't know, I'm just making something up here. I always do with anime, right? Balancing with harsh shapes like that. So if you want to call it homework, Cameron, or anything like that, I would like you to shift to let go of doing these studies now, because I believe it's long in your subconscious, all these bones and things. And I would like you to spend the next month or so looking at various cartoon characters and not just copying them and drawing them, but really, like, say that let's say you like Merlin, right? Let's because you got Wizzy, right? So let's say Disney's Merlin. See, this is why I don't think I'm not streaming, because okay, we've got the internet back. Okay, good. Merlin, Sword in the Stone, right? Sword, stone. Okay. Now, I'm just going to very quickly, Cameron, I'm just going to very quickly draw this. And then I'm going to tell you how I want you to do your study, right? And you need to fill a sketchbook of this. And this, I believe, will, you know, and will be the missing link. Actually, what I've been looking for from you for a while, right? So I'm just gonna go in here, because I do see improvement, Cameron, but I want that improvement to speed up. I'm impatient, right? Right. I really want, like, if there's one person I want to really, really see accelerate as though he was my own person. I know I'm showing a bit of favoritism here, but Cameron has worked so hard that I can't help but affiliate with him, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to really, really work your butt off. And the judoka spirit in you, Cameron, I understand that that's where it's coming from. Aka will understand too. Right, so I've made this rough sketch. I haven't tried to copy it exact, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a thick black pen, right? I'm going to go curve. Oh, it's not thick enough. Curve, straight, right? Then I'm going to see where that connects with the ear, and I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to go, oh, that's a nice kind of triangular against a round curve, right? Like that. Really learning these shapes. Let's look at his eyes. So we've got a straight and then a complete round, right? Now we've got like this tapering, right? And I'm just trying to see the shapes, right? So you've got these curves that unite, and the mustache now is straight, right? There's a little bit of a curve in that mustache, but we're going to get rid of it, right? Because we're going to see the balance of this, right? We're going to see the balance of this and then this, right? And we're going to see a curve coming here. And although there's a curve here like that, I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to put a straight line, because I'm really, really going to be training your brain, Cameron, to understand subconsciously what makes something appealing, right? Learning how to draw is one thing. A lot of people have learned how to draw. Some people can copy a photograph exact. But when it comes to trying to do their own posing and all that, or their own drawing, they don't understand this stuff, and it falls apart. On top of that, this will also really help your life drawing, because your life drawing will go from trying to copy and kind of like get things in the right place. You'll start to go, okay, right, that's where that goes, that's the pelvis, right? You'll start to just get it. I'm making it look very easy at the moment, right? But I promise you that once you've kind of understood these things, right? And even this, to some degree, is like a curve against a straight, right? Once you've understood those things, everything will get better. Everything. You already have the foundational knowledge, and you've been at it long enough so that knowledge is not going anywhere for a while. You can let go of it, and you can start building onto it with this. What program do I use to create the animation? I'm not really going to talk about programs. If you're interested in programs, I can't even say it. I've got my tongue tied. There's AI, all right? There's AI around going on, and this is what's happened, all right? Now, I teach real animation, which is what my program is. But why we are where we are now is because people are focusing on technology more than art. You think this is going to do the job for you. Well, you thought right. There's a lot of people losing their jobs right now, right? Please stop using AI, even though I'm a CG animator and I didn't learn how to draw, and I was actually using AI. Now AI is coming back to destroy me. Boo-hoo, boo. Well, that's what it is. What goes around comes around. So at the end of the day, those who tinkered, you know, what is it they say in the Bible? Let he who cast the first stone, or something, I don't know. Some of you can correct me on that. Basically, they all played with AI. They all wanted to know about the software. They all wanted to know about the software. Well, the software is going to always change. And if you think the software is what's special, well, guess what? It is special. And the people are all getting sidelined now who used it. So, what can you do? Oh, you can't draw? You can't paint? You mean to tell me you don't really know how to do it? Oh, what a as Droopy would say, what a shame. You know what? I'm the hero. Well, I'm not rubbing faces in the dirt. I'm using this to illustrate, to try and, I've been trying to wake people up for God knows, we've had somebody here who says they've been watching me for 10 years. We're trying to wake people up to shift their gaze from the software to your own software, your brain. Program real animation skills into you. Because if you want to draw and animate, you still can. When the camera was invented, people didn't stop painting. You know, people still paint portraits today. And there are plenty of successful portrait painters out there happily enjoying their lives, but everybody's just looking in one place, thinking that's the only place where people are going to be drawing and animating. Well, if you're going to be looking in that place, it's going to be burning down right now. And there's going to be a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going on there from the people. You buy the very tool that the people who were brandishing is turning against them now. So that's what it is. Technology is important. I'm using a program called Storyboard Pro, which isn't even an animation program, to illustrate the point that you don't need to know animation software to animate better than the industry, right? So basically, please, 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 if you're going to ask questions about software, understand I'm not really going to be focusing on that, because you're looking for quick fixes. You're not looking for real animator training. Thank you for coming on my stream, but I suggest you go and play with AI, okay? And that way you'll be able to do stuff better than a lot of the Pixar and CG guys, or to their level. Because I never really thought they were that great at animation anyway, to be honest with you. I'm being honest, I'm keeping it real. As a hand-drawn animator trained in hand-drawn skills, who really knew how to do it on paper without any, crutch, I've never looked at the stuff these people have been doing. You can look at the context. Yeah, you need CGI to make Jurassic Park. That's great. Creature animation, whatever. Great mix of live action animation. But then, they start using CGI to build sets now. You don't even have sets. It's all green screen, whatever. These people have never really studied art, studied anything. They've studied technology. And if they've studied lighting and anatomy, they've studied it just so they can reach their goal of doing more CGI. They haven't really had a passion for it. They haven't looked at why René Magritte drew the way he drew, or used the colors he used, or what drove Picasso to form Cubism. They don't care, because they're not artists. All they're interested in is the technology. And if all you're interested in is the technology, you're going to have a great time. Go play with AI. It's your best friend. It's waiting for you right now. There was an outcry over Flash due to it being discontinued. Just shows how... Yes, I know about that, the whole Adobe thing. Who cares? Who cares? Again, it's easy when you're watching these screens to get caught up in the tidal wave and to believe that you're affiliating with these people and these people somehow are related to you. Ask yourself, check yourself. That's basically, inside your brain, you have something called an amygdala. Amygdala, right? And that is your fight or flight, right? And that all the time getting anxious and anxiety over reacting. It's your reactor, right? It's called an arm, it's like an almond shape. And then your frontal lobe of the brain, which is your reasoning factor, right? Your frontal lobe of the brain, it's like this is like Grimer Wormtongue, right? In Lord of the Rings, or like a serpent, or whispering to your frontal lobe, who's the guy kind of in charge, not really, but we let's say he's in charge just to be quick about it, right? He's not really, you know, I don't want to go deeper, right? So your frontal lobe is kind of like gonna say yay or nay, right? Let's call him the gatekeeper. You can pass or no, you can't pass, right? Yay or nah, right? Now, if he listens to this thing, the whole body is going to be trembling and shaking because, you know, you've got something called a pituitary gland, which runs all the way down your nervous system and giving you hormones, right? Hormones in Greek means to excite, right? I believe. You can Google it and correct me if I'm wrong, right? That's what the literal Greek word comes from, right? So it gets all excitable. And your body starts getting excited, thinking you're involved, right? So before any of that stuff happens, you got to ask yourself, does this really concern me? So all of you getting worried about Adobe getting canceled, right? If you can't draw on paper, right, then you might be concerned. If you don't know how to animate on paper, you might be concerned, right? But don't be too concerned, because Adobe, Toon Boom, whatever, TV Paint, whatever piece of shit that's out there, right? What is it? Open Tunes, blah de blah, whatever crap out there, right? You can still do what you want to do on that. So you're going to be crying your eyes out over your lost work, right? Well, was you that great anyway in the first place? Let's be honest. Was you really that great? Is that work really worth keeping if you're trying to better yourself and get better? Stop living in the past and keep moving forward, learning real skills. Real skills, and rebuild. Rebuild the real you. The powerful you. The one who does not know fear. Right? So that's what real animator training and my system, when I try to teach you how to draw and animate, is interested in doing. It isn't just trying to teach you skills. It's trying to give you, instill in your subconscious mind, confidence, power, and self-certainty to the fact that doesn't matter what tool you pick up. Cameron's got all the tools under the sun. I've seen his digital work, but he draws on paper. You don't have to draw on paper. If you want to draw digitally, great, draw digitally. But ultimately understand that it's you that's the power. It's you that is the real deal, which is, I keep going on about. It's not the software, right? So if any of you I'd like to do this in the chat. If any of you feel that you're the real deal, type in the chat, I'm the real deal. If any of you don't feel you're the real deal, type in the chat, I'm the real deal, and see how it feels when you type it out and put it out there that you're the real deal. Because that little gut feeling you have inside is what needs fixing, or what needs reaffirming and reassuring, right? And that's you. Nobody else is going to do that for you. You have to do that yourself, right? So rather than learning about software that's always interchangeable, learn about your real hardware, your real software, your brain, your body, what makes you think the way you think, and then channel that to your goals. And that's what we do in Real Animator Training. So that's what it's all about. Excellent. Grayson and Charlene. Charlene put some muscle up there. Okay, right. We're going to be doing some. Drawing in the some drawing now. Very quickly read this. My librarian recently finished my animation reel. I'll be honored if you could see it and give me some advice. Not a deep analysis, just your impressions. Well, we have a group on Facebook. Let's quickly talk about that now. Let's divide the stream in half. Okay, good. Akao, excellent. Cameron, good for you. You're all the real deal. So you saw this group on Facebook where we were working with Cameron, right? And so if you would like me to see your work, join this group on Facebook. We've already got 4.1 thousand people in here. And share your work. The only time your work will not be, I don't mind people sometimes sharing an impressive piece of hand-drawn animation. I just think this is okay. I don't care if James Baxter did it. It's very kind of like, looks like an exercise to me. Or Aaron Blazer's film. I don't mind, but we try to keep those posts to a minimum. These guys are extremely inspiring to many of you, so I've left those posts on there. So, but we don't really just want to spam the wall with fandom or like, oh my God, gushing over whatever. This is about you, right? This is Cameron's work on paper, right? Cameron is learning the advanced quadruped walk cycle. Looking good, Cameron. I think Cameron, actually, you're ready to do some in-betweens for me. Once my projects start getting underway, I'll try you out on some in-betweening. I think you're ready for that. So here we've got people that are really trying, you know. Not all of these people are library members, so it's not like I only prioritize my library members. If somebody's post, like you said, you're real, shows a lot of hard work, then please do post and share it in the group. But on top of that, if you're going to post and share it, write a little description about what your goal was doing it. If you're just going to post and share it and say like, subscribe, and follow, dudes, yeah, bro. No, your post is going to get deleted because this is what this group is called is growth, development, and progress, right? It's not called lame-ass, half-assed self-promotion that in reality will get you nowhere, right? You want to do self-promotion, learn a little bit of marketing and social media advertising, put your money where your mouth is. Posting random things all over groups it's a bad look, and it doesn't really, nobody really cares, all right? It's going to scroll past it, and you're kind of like, you know, procrastinating from doing anything really constructive with your life. So if you're going to post in this group, bear those things in mind, and we're more than welcome. I'll be more than welcome to have a look at it. Exactly. You know, so if you're going to post, I totally understand. But like, I like to tell people that because I've had to put a few questions here to stop people from joining this group, because we've had people join the group and just, it's open to everybody. It's not private, but they join the group and they just spam like nobody's business. And then we get bots and all that stuff. So we got to be clear on the rules. Right. Now, very quickly, before we start the second half of the stream, if you guys are interested in learning about, how's the stream health? It says chat disconnected. Please wait a while. We try to reconnect you. Okay. So if you are excited about joining AMB Animation, Real Animator Training. Now, this is why I think, okay, here we are. No, my internet is a little slow. You can go to ambanimation.com. ambanimation.com is where we help animators and independent filmmakers create high-quality hand-drawn animation through Real Animator Training and content creation. So, if you click on Real Animator Training, you will be taken to this page here. And there's, you know, it's a sales page. But if you're watching my streams, then no point in taking you through that. So here you've got basically the archives where you'll be learning various things. We've got training archives and edutainment archives. So you can get training archives in a bundle, or you can get a master bundle, which is everything that's here. So you get the basics, the intermediate, the advanced, the professional, the animating a scene, the how to animate your own film animation lectures, and we throw in the anatomy archive as a bundle, like as a gift. So that's the master training bundle. But here everything is segmented into step-by-step videos. Our latest archive is the professional animation training archive, where we focus more on, at the moment we've got 30 videos in there, but we focus a lot on storytelling, storytelling. Let's actually go inside and show you what's inside here. So the Law of Staging is a 7-part video lecture series which takes you through how to communicate with the audience, part 1, editing and continuity, part 2, camera angles and shots, part 3, camera moves and transitions, part 4, background sets and props, part 5, part 6 is shot composition, part 7, mood lighting, color and camera lenses. The next set of lectures you have is storyboarding an intro or music video. So this is, I believe, I can't remember. I think it is more than 7 parts. We'll see. So I think it's 14 parts. So it's segmented in parts. You watch me storyboard an entire animated intro like a classic 80s cartoon, and I explain everything as I go along doing it. So you watch the whole thing being made in this 14-part lecture series, putting into practice what you learned. Then you go back to animation, you learn about advanced dialogue. So this is a long dialogue heavy lecture series. I believe it is a 9-part lecture series doing a 30-second piece of sustained acting, slow, subtle acting. So that is our professional animation archive. But of course, before you'll be doing professional, you will be doing things like basic archive, intermediate archive, anatomy archive, advanced archive. Also, if you are not so much into the hardcore training, we have got great series. Some of my classic live stream series are archived here in the library. We've got a this is 14-part live stream series where you watch me animating a really cool scene from start to finish, featuring this character. So it's a 14-part lecture series. All the ins and outs of doing this. You can see the animation here. Actually, if we go to the home page, this is the animation that I animate, and you watch the whole thing. Let me just turn the noise down. You watch the whole thing being animated and me explaining over 14 lectures how it's done. We even do talk a little bit about color and finishing there as well. The other great thing is, I was the first one to do it. There are other people that have done it now, but I did this many years ago. I think in 2001, 2002. I can't remember. How to animate your own film. 56 lectures documenting the making of a 2-minute film. So, so basically, you got 56 lectures documenting a 2-minute film being made from start to finish, right? So, that's the Real Animator Training Library. If you want to transform your life, if you're tired of just changing momentarily, and doing a few things that kind of work. But if you want to really transform your life, transform your animation experience, then go to ambanimation.com and join the Real Animator Training Library. Now, finally, I'm going to be doing a drawing. I don't normally do drawings from donations, but This guy has been a really regular supporter of mine. He's practically donated to me for the majority of my streams. And he in his previous donation for Valentine's Day, he suggested I draw Peg Leg Feet and his wife Peg from the movie Goof Troop. So there is a donate link in the description, but I'm going to be fashioning that to be focusing on a specific project soon. But if you want to say thanks for the information that I've been sharing with you all these years, or you just want to support me because you like to support real artists instead of AI artists, and you want to keep seeing us thriving, then there's a link in the description, and I'm very grateful for anybody that does that. Right, so that said and done, let's have a quick look. I applied to join the Facebook group. Okay, I have to review your application. I'll do that off stream sometime. You got to answer the questions, and I'll do that off stream sometime. But I'm going to have a look at a few more comments in the chat, and then we're going to do the drawing of feet. I started the basic quadruped walk, and it's so refreshing to learn the body mechanics. So far I've done the back legs, and it's really neat drawing an animal's legs this time. Again, yes, you see, that's where the whole anatomy comes in, what I absolutely love. So it doesn't matter if you're like, if you like, think of a human leg, right? And you have like the muscles and the foot going on there like that, right? And then you think of a quadruped, you have the same thing. You've got the leg and the foot going on there like that. Right? Similarly with a bird, right? You have the leg and the foot, right? So that's there. And then you got the foot. So they pick their feet up like this, right? But it's all bending of the knee hair, right? The knee is all the way up here, right? Same with the arm, right? So you got the human arm. I love that. I'll do this for my friend Mega Man. I've been animating Gracie a lot, and I love like roughing her feminine arms out before I add the fur. Like so, let's say that let's say that this is the arm, right? So you kind of have the arm there like this, and then I would like put a bit of fur. But let's say that it's a wing, right? So again, the wing comes across here, right? Then you've got the hand with all the fingers, right? The primary fingers here, like, and then you've got like the coming here from the elbow, the secondary, right? Right. So once you kind of decode all this stuff, right, in the latissimus dorsi, it like let's play with the fingers, right? Let's do something like this. Once you kind of decode all this stuff, right, you can really, really start to have fun. Let's give it some goat-like legs now, right? So Cameron, let's say that like let's really play with this, right? Let's have the so the foot I'm treating like a human foot here, and I'm bending the knee, right? So we're bending this knee. All right. You can really, really play and just start having fun, right? With this whole anatomy business. Right. Let's put a horn on his head and ears, but give him a beak. Right. Anything, just, you know, you can just play. So anatomy is the key. Right. I just played the first three. Now we're talking Mega Man. I've been re-completing Mega Man 2 these days. And to be honest, I'm indulging in AI. Somebody's done an AI heavy metal take on Mega Man 2's theme music. And I love it. I listen to it while I work. So there you go. I'm not against AI at all. Um, it's just something that's there, like everything else. AI to me is just like CG animation. Like, as a hand-drawn animator, everybody thought hand-drawn people were irrelevant and focused on CGI, and it never bothered me one little bit. So while they're all the CGI and digital artists are crying about AI, I'm like, nothing's changed for me. Right? The industry was headed down the toilet for me anyway. I didn't really enjoy anything they made anymore anyway. It was all synthetic CG visual effects stuff. So, AI, CGI, it's all the same to me, right? Okay, right. Now we have got an image here. Now I've got a Google image here, and I'm going to show you the image because I don't think I'll be done for any copyright here. So I've got this cute little image here of this guy with his wife, right? And I'm going to do a take of that with Pete from Goof Troop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to what's the time? Okay. I'm going to make a little sketch of that, right? Using the technique that I was showing Cameron. The guy's head's here, his arms here. He's holding the love heart thing here. I can't really see what's going on with his muscles and hands, but in here we've got the woman. Actually, the woman's head is next to his, and she's holding that, and his hands here, right? So this is the takeaway that I've got. The love heart is kind of joining the two of them like that, right? So now I want to put my cartoon characters in these poses, right? So I don't really know Goof Troop characters. I know Peg Leg Pete from classic Mickey, but I kind of really hated those 90s sitcom shows where they took classic characters and turned them into, you're not the boss of me now, you're not the boss. I really can't stand those whiny 90s Friends type things. But anyway, that's probably, I'm not American, so that could be the reason I didn't really resonate with me, that sort of humor. I do like old American humor from the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, but I think the 90s have kind of lost it for me a bit. So I'm going to take these characters. Now I have got some images of Peg, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at Peg from the model sitting down. Okay. Right. So I've got a model sheet of Peg here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting my characters in there, but then I'm going to probably end up discarding the drawing because this is how AI would do it, right? AI would just put the cartoons in the pose, right? So I'm doing no different to what AI would do, right? So But once I've done once I've done that, I'm then going to want to think about playing with the silhouette, changing it, adding a lot of appeal to it. So it's not just taking this pose and putting the character in the pose. Very thin arms. Got some kind of body like this. And the head. I'm going to have her looking up lovingly. So already I'm kind of deviating from the thing. Now, I'm going to have to look at her head from the angle. I'm trying to do an up angle of a character I've never drawn before. So excuse me while I just quickly work out the... So she's got a round kind of head like this and this thing at the bottom, right? So if I say along here is where her nose is, on the bottom of that shape, and we just kind of bring that in a bit. No, that's right. So on the bottom of that shape is her nose. Then the usual, so we've got like 1, 2, 3, right? 3 eyes. Right. Like that. And very kind of like almost like an high eyebrows going on. Okay. It's quite easy for me to draw in this style, and my Gracie Goodbear is kind of a nod and wink to this stuff as well. Right, so now she has like 1, 2, right, so on the side we've got 1, right? And then these two come sweeping down. So in the center line, that's where we find the 2. Okay. Then we break it up on 2 again, and we have basically that same usual easy whiff of hair which comes there like that. Now this is all going to be in line, obviously. Right. This comes... Where does this come in line with her eye line? Comes in line with her eye line, but then they bring it up like that. Okay. And from there, very strange hairstyle. I have to say I'm not a fan. Not a fan of this character, but don't really understand the hairstyle. Right. Then the neck is there. She's got those shoulder pads, but normally the guy who designs for these shows like Darkwing Duck and is very on point, but I'm not into his shape choices for the shoulders and it just feels I don't feel the anatomy in there. Even if it's cartoon, it's gotta feel the anatomy. I'm not feeling it in this one. This feels more like a Warner's Animaniacs kind of drawing rather than a Disney one. This doesn't have the sophistication in the shape choices. Okay, so we have the pear shape. She's pear shape, right? And then the legs just come off the bottom. So I just do this drawing very quickly for myself to kind of familiarize myself with that. Okay, enough. Right, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to make up this expression. 1, 2, 3. We're going to keep our eyes to the side. A little bit too fat there. And this is going to come You got an up angle on this nose, so I'm making life hard for myself by trying to do an up angle, but what the hey. Right. These characters are all kind of similar. Right. I'm just gonna like modify my Gracie Goodbear. This you want to be careful to keep it balanced for the up angle. So I'm gonna think more a triangle shape like this. Shape like this, right? The hair is gonna sell it. So his feet is gonna be resting his head against her hair, right? So her hair is gonna be somewhat up here like this. I'm not sure if she has if they do the same hair on either side. But I'm gonna look for a 3/4 of the character. I'm looking at a front view at the moment. Okay. So let's look for a view of her from the angle that I'm looking for, which I don't really have. Or do I? Yes, I do. Not even to any kind of model, right? This is from the TV show. Let's do it. Okay. I'm gonna try and get her head right before I go into that. I'm gonna explore her head, right? So her head from the bottom angle will be like this. This is the part that's the difficult part. Getting that angle right. Then the tuft of hair, what makes it. I want a challenge, so the angle will give me the challenge. All right, let's soften that. Look at another image. The images I have aren't that great, so I'm going to look for one more. Square on, square on. Let's just start peg. I'm going to do 2 in 1. Okay. Let's do peg a goofy movie, because the TV show has got some terrible drawings. A goofy movie. Okay. Probably look at 10,000 times better in the movie. Not necessarily, but well, that'll do. That'll give me something of something to work with. Okay. We got to remain a little bit flatter. Like that. Got a little nose, a little bit different to my to the model that I had. Any open mouth shapes of peg? Not really. Just gonna open it like that for the time being. Right. Now the eye shape. Let's have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll bring that in a bit. Bring that in a bit. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Heavying the shapes that I'm resonating with. Yeah, like that. I do not understand this hairstyle one little bit. I want to use that, but that's what's taking it off the model. That. Not quite the angle that I wanted, but maybe the one I have to settle for. Once I get this head, it's pretty plain sailing. How are we doing for time off the stream? We are 1 hour 57, plenty of time. Plenty of time. Okay. So, come on. Don't want to lose that color. Yeah, that's actually not looking as bad as I thought. I guess I just do not like the character, right? So I'm gonna draw her very so slightly in the way I think she should look. But I'm gonna keep her on model. Right. I'm gonna keep her on model to the best of my abilities during this live stream. How big is that nose? There you go. Sometimes the nose is bigger, sometimes it's smaller. Let's have it just a little bit bigger to layer the drawing. Right. She never actually closes that mouth off. Because let me look at this one. That gives me a feel of her expression. Again, her foremouth has no consistency, which is very bad because normally this bit doesn't really squash and stretch that much, except for on very, very okay, let's that. Come up there like that. This one is not so. Using a combination of the hairstyles. Some animators draw her very nicely, Others draw her extremely to a very bog standard level. Although what is apparent is they really have taken liberties with the model sheet, which is a good thing, because the model sheet certainly did leave room for improvement. Right, so here we've got a somewhat up angle. I'm kind of happy with that now. Let's inverse that. Yeah, it's a little bit locked. A little bit too much locked sided. Still so, but that'll do. All right. Now I've got something to work with. So let's go in here and draw our peg. So I'm gonna let me thin my brush actually. I'm gonna go in here and just draw shapes at the moment. That's what we want. This upper arm is huge, but it's not baggy enough in the sleeve. This looks like weird because she's got tiny little forearms. And the very, very Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures TV grade. Well, it is a TV cartoon, but shows like Tailspin, the original DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, very, very well designed. And there are some great designs in GoofTube. I mean, Goofy is a classic, so is Pete, but Pistol is also very appealing. And the fat son of Pete I like as well. But for some reason, this character is a little bit awkward in my eyes. Okay. Now we're going to use that. We're going to throw in this image, which I have just concocted. Checking my head size. My head might need to be just a bit bigger. Don't use free transform tools when you draw. Okay. AI will do it faster and better, right? You're trying to develop a skill because you want to draw. You like the process, right? That's why we do it. We like the process. We're not, you know, attention-seeking harlots, right? Just want to throw stuff out there. Yeah, that's something there. All right. Let's knock that back. That's peg roughed in. Let's do Pete now. This is really cool. Which is more important, animating shapes or lines? Well, lines are made out of shapes, so it's important like, it's very important to understand that everything in animation is shape simplification, right? Everything, right? So I can do this, right? But then through the lines are what creates what the shape is, right? So it's a joining of the two, right? The lines create what the shape is. So a straight line, a curved line, is it a feminine shape? Is it a masculine shape, right? So shapes are very important, but it's the expression of those shapes, right, which completely transform the illusion. So it's a mixture of the two, right? Line creates shape. So line is the basic essence of drawing. And when we animate shapes. But you may have heard of the the wave principle, right? So here we've got somebody running, but they're following this line of action, right? And then they're changing direction, right? They're following this line of action, right? So animating line and animating shape go hand in hand, right? The line of action is the pose. Now we're going to be talking about that afterwards, because at the moment I'm just drawing in this. I'm now going to draw in feet, right? So let's look for images of feet. Okay, that's a pretty good image, right? So here, let me turn that into a brown. Let me use my favorite red. So with feet, I'm gonna have the huge round and he's giving the love heart box to her. I'll have to look at the original photo. How is he holding that? He's holding it underneath there like that, right? That makes it simple. So feet I feel very much at home with, but the only issue is getting Pete's head next to hers without it looking awkward, right? So he's gonna come back here a little bit. His head's gonna be here. Let me now heavy this guy's head, because I want to think about the overall silhouette anyway. So if I was drawing this on paper, I will be making a right old scribble, right? And then I have something called a body eraser that will constantly keep dabbing it back, right? So it's okay, right? So now I'm gonna make this shape here. I'm going to move his hand here like this. That's better. That's good. Color down here like that. Yep. So we can lose that and we can soften that now. Now I can draw in the feet. Right. So I'm going to change his expression. At the moment, I'm going to use this nasty expression that he's got. And I'm going to have to change your eye shape. I'm going to use this mean expression, and then I'm going to change it. So he's got his eyebrows actually in but his eyes are much closer together. Right. So we'll fix that. I'm coming into, I'm going to do the same thing, right? Goofy movie feet, right? I'm going to learn his feet model sheet, right? I'm going to learn his face, learn his facial construction. No model sheet of feet. Let me write goof group. Goof group. Just learn these things are important. They've got a head sheet with various mouth shapes, but those are the shitty mouth shapes that are used for sending it out to other companies. Okay, but I'll figure it out from this. I'll figure it out from this. Okay, so we've got a round head hair, we've got an eye, right? Then we've got a mask. Right? So the mask is where the eye sits inside, the other eye sits in. So the mask creates his eyebrow expressions, but he's got like little kind of extra eyebrows under his eyes, right? Now around that mask, that's where the cheeks occur. That's where the big shape bulges underneath. Now in here is where we fit everything else. Right, so then we have this comes around here like this. And this comes the side. I see. And then this. He's got the goofy, they've given him goofy style teeth to fit into the goofy character. Then he's got a bottom lip that sits within the rounded structure of the shape. And this rounds off here like that. And we've got like that usual little tuft of hair that sits at the top. Okay, right, back to this. This is just my familiarization with the face. So when I'm drawing it, let me start again. I have some concept of how it works. Mono eyes. Hey, Frilled Mayfly, you're gonna like this stream. I looked at your work. My pleasure, War Shark Productions. Thanks for the question. Okay, right, let's get back to this. Let's start again. Right? Then I can change his expression as I see fit. So I'm just gonna put those two lines there, right? Now, as I said, this is not his expression that I'm gonna keep, right? But it's the one that I'm gonna use as my base, which I will change. Gonna have his mouth comes over the side there like that. Not sure about that tongue, but we're going to change that and look at some other expressions. So his bottom lip comes all the way around. It's almost like a Don Bluth Borf character, more so than Peg Leg Pete. He stopped being Peg Leg Pete after Steamboat Willie and such. A few more other cartoons he had a peg leg. Let's just round that off and have that coming off on the side. Okay. Now I'm gonna drawing this. I'm gonna have to look at what his clothes look like. I know what they look like from this image, but I'm not 100% convinced. Dye hair like this. I will just make this up for the time being. He's got 3 fingers. These hands are just the usual hands. They're not a problem for me. Just do something like that. I'll put the heart shape in there. I'll put a little bow on that. Fingers. Finger like that. All right. Now, let's soften her down. I need to look at this guy's outfit a bit. Oh, he's just in a shirt. He's not in his jacket. All right, we've got some idea of his sleeves from this, which is just simple stuff. All right, so the usual cheap TV outfit of a suit. Then they've got the on the side, which will be something like that, but I want his collar to out. Okay. We'll figure out the heart later on. In my opinion, the heart will probably be the hardest thing to do. Right. Okay. Now we're gonna get some, we're gonna change this expression a bit. I'm gonna give him a slight little bit of Eric Goldberg in the eyes. So we've got something like that. Let's look at his ears. Make it around this way. All right. The feet is looking pretty cool. Now we're going to adjust the peg. Right? Back and forth, back and forth. Right? How are we doing for time? We are 2 hours 21 in. How was it? You'll have to watch the stream. It's a great piece of work, but I gave you a lot of pointers on character animation. So you know, what I like to do with you, Frilled Mayfly, is to help you and push you. So it's one of those type of feedbacks. Righty ho. Let's now do something with this peg. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of make sure their eyes are meeting. Do I want to have her? No, I'll keep her eyes open. I'll keep her eyes open. The eyes are the big deal. That's what we need to. The main thing we need to focus on is now having these two characters interacting with each other. So when you put two characters next to each other, and this is something that AI really struggles with, is eye line, right? An eye line, even in animation, when you think you've got eye line, you've been focusing on eye line. You'll find when you look at the line test, that sometimes your eye line is still off. And you're like, what? I really concentrated on eye line because my director gave me a real, that's a true story, by the way, and the director was right. Gave me a real hammering because I animated a whole scene and I didn't really have the characters looking like they made proper eye contact with each other. This hair I'm gonna have like that. So it's very important Right, I'm gonna literally draw a line there. You have these characters looking into each other's eyes, because that's what makes the difference. Let's see, we want that center line to match. This is where we're putting stuff together. Then I can come and verify if it's the model or not, which can be done. Now I'm super happy with, I knew he would be the easier of the two with my feet pose. So I'm gonna pretty much draw that in. And we're gonna figure out the heart shape and see what we can do with peg to make her just that little bit more appealing. Thank you, Akal. Appreciate that. Now, it's the peg that I want to work on. And I'll show you how I'm already using that technique a little bit on peg now. But I'll show you how we bring the whole thing together by really refining the silhouettes. So it depends what your standards are. Like if I was rushing, I wouldn't really be refining the way I'm refining right now, right? I would probably just tidy up what I had done and not really fix peg, right? By thinning her shape down, sitting it next to the beat as much. Now we've got the love heart thing to do, but before I go on to that, I'm gonna see how that's working in inverse. Yes. So I'm gonna go look at that box. Now that box is to an angle, which suits me just fine. So I'm gonna create this kind of triangle shape. But we're gonna make it a lot more fatter. Like this. There we go. All right. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now we're going to change up Pete's hand. Did it redo? Right. So his hand is going to be taking the shape of this. So his thumb might be up here now. Yeah, the thumb can be good like that. Let's have the silhouette of the thumb there like that. But no, that doesn't work, you see. I knew that this thing, for me, would be harder than the pose of the characters, getting this love heart thing united with them. Okay, right. Let's figure out his hand. Okay, so let's throw in some anatomy here. The hand just takes the shape of everything that it's doing. So we want the hand actually turning the other way would be better, but that doesn't help. So we're gonna have to have it. I've got the reference there, but he's kind of using his knuckles to support it. Yeah, let's look at the way this guy is actually kind of supporting. Let's put a more realistic. Let's look at the live action to support that. To give myself some feeling for it. Right. The last thing you want when you do a drawing is for any of it to look disjointed, right? So that's why I'm going to all this trouble, right? And again, digital illustrators, a lot of inexperienced people and people that are just into color and fan art, they look at digital illustration with such awe. But a real animator or somebody who's a real draftsman is not so easily impressed, because what that work has is a very disjointed quality. The nothing in there really feels naturalistic together. It's just like a paint by numbers job, like a color, a rendering of a very stiff, static pose, right? Whereas this stuff, we really want to make it feel, if I make it any bigger, you know what? I'm gonna throw that heart shape away. And I'm gonna just use my imagination. And this may mean changing the image of Pete's sleeve, right? This is better for me. This was the original kind of shape that we had. So this is more like this. Slight difference there, not a problem. Then we're gonna have coming this way. I really don't want it to feel awkward. And that's what I'm getting at the moment from all of this, is this is quite awkward. So let's just burn all of that red for now. Let's soften that. So these little things actually are the parts of the drawing that I used to not enjoy, but I actually enjoy them now because I like to use my brain. I like to be tested, right? if everything was just so simple at the drop of a hat, then there'd be no need for anything, right? There's no, that's what AI is here for. We want it to be cartooned. All right, so this can be this thing here like this, and what we can do is just over his hand, just to make it sit better, we can have some of the ribbon. All right, now that's starting to sit better. We're getting somewhere with that. So we're gonna go in and lock it all down. Yeah. Is it the same blue that I'm using? I don't know. It feels a little heavier. Let's put a kind of like flower on there. And it's just one finger, it's just one finger, so be it. Maybe we have a little bit of the other fingers there, like that, better. Yes. It's got that getting too messy again. There we go. All right. Now I think I'm ready to dye it all together. Let's put it in inverse. It's a little bit balancing act we need to do here. Possibly with her eye. There we go. Let's now all right, now here's what I'm gonna do. Right? I'm gonna, nothing as simple as the world will fall over it. That's gravel. Right? Thank you, Nintendo. Hello, Sneak. Okay, right. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this thing up. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm just gonna really kind of get a nice heavy choice line over the entire element of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the ribbon up at the end. So this hand and the ribbon will be tidied up at the end. So I'm kind of giving myself a nice easy line to tidy my drawing up on, right? and I'm making sure that there are no loose ends, right? Although that hand is cheating, kind of hidden there, looks good. Now I'm gonna make sure that this is good. This all works. Mouth is good. It doesn't take long to do, but it makes your life cleaning up incredibly easy. Especially, like, I wouldn't as I said, depends if I'm rushing. If I'm rushing, I wouldn't. Like when I'm tidying up my Gracie thriller animation, there's so many drawings, so I do not really spend that much time cleaning it. Right? Just rush through it. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and tidy this up. So I'm gonna have a 12, right? So we're gonna turn like this, and then it's just literally gonna be the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the silhouette. So we're gonna have a look at what that silhouette looks like. And I'm kind of using the pressure along the way, right? But I want the silhouette. It's like a typical kind of coloring book, sort of activity book illustration. I want the silhouette to be a little bit. Oh, I'm not going to do that hand at the moment because I want to clean that ribbon up last, right? I want that silhouette to be as kind of thicker than what's inside. Not necessarily, but see how. Oopsie, that's one thing error I made is her shoulder pads, which I really don't like. So let's see what that looks like in inverse shoulder pads. Okay. All right. Let's see. So that's the silhouette minus the heart, right? So now we're just going to go in and detail all this in, right? So I can come here. See. And start really watching how those lines are interacting with each other, right? Very important when we're doing this kind of work to continue the line, right? So somebody asked me about line earlier, but can you see how when we roughing out the shapes, but when we're doing line art, we're making sure that that line kind of continues. I'm going to do that. Continues on to tell its story, right? Here we're kind of cutting in a bit. That's no good. And that's how you can tell a really bad drawing from a good drawing in terms of like cartooning, understanding of line. Is you want to follow the line like a game of snakes and ladders. And you want to say, okay, what's the journey of this line? Where is it taking one end to the other end? And also we can talk about line weight, right? So the bottom, I want to put more weight, like the bottom of this lip, and then I want to take the weight off as I come away from it. Here, there's going to be very faint, right? And the top on the side of the eyes, maybe a little bit more at the top there. I want to put a little bit more to emphasize the eyelash, right? I want to be very, very delicate with the eyes. Here I need to really pay attention on what those eyes are looking at, right? So there we've got Peg, right? A little bit too much cheek there, but I'm quite happy with that, you know. Just leave it. I'll put a little strand of hair coming up the side to emphasize that it's being brushed up against feet, right? So now I'm going to enjoy doing the journey of this line. So here we can go all the way here, but we're going to eliminate it, right? Continue the bottom lip around. See how that lines up with that. I really missed an opportunity there, so I'm going to stop where I want. I'm going to stop here so I can really focus on this line to accentuate the angle and the eye expression, right? The subtlety. I'll definitely have to watch the beginning of the stream. Absolutely, Frilled Mayfly. Absolutely. I highly recommend you do. You get 40 minutes of my time absolutely free, right? Because I highly respect you and you have invested in real animator training, not just with your money. You've invested in real animator training with your spirit, your heart, and your quest for excellence. You know, that's what matters. Many people can pay the fee, but to be able to actually apply and investigate what they have been studying, that's a rarity. I'm so fortunate to have so many that are like that, like Charlene Giles in the chat. Somebody else who's really, really just blown me away with the with her journey, along with Cameron. Kevin Silver doesn't give himself enough credit. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to really, really want to reach a certain level, to really work hard, to put in all you've got, but to never be satisfied with the results. I know what it's like. So some of you, I can really feel you, which is why I like to really give my time to those people. And then you start seeing those results happening, like with Frilled Mayfly. like with Charlene, like with Cameron. There are people out there like Life Fantasy, Aaron AOX, Doug Stoley. All of them have been doing really, really great work. And watching the transformation, Travis is another one. Watching the transformations take place, it's just gives me immense satisfaction. Now here's where the journey of the line is bad, right? So I got to see how that was going like that. I got to continue that. There. Still a bit bad. I'm being lazy. I should rub that line out. But it's done. If this was like paper, we would not be able to rub it out. So that would be a bad decision on my part, right? Too much. That's one of the things about being live. Concentration is separated. All right. So we have our clean line drawing there. I like to animate but my drawing skills aren't the best. But that's the best place to start, because if you want to animate, most people who think they can draw, note I use the word think, right? I wonder how my streaming's going. Yeah, okay. And notice how I use the word think, right? They think they're too good for simple shapes. They don't want to learn to animate a bouncing ball, right? They don't want to learn to animate a swinging pendulum, right? And what it is their ego. They want to draw their Marvel comic character or their anime character from a low angle, you know, with all the anatomy busting through. You know, they want to be able to just draw and animate that, right? And then they want to also add all the shading and the shadow and think that they're ready to do all that. But they don't know jack shit how to move a simple shape like that. You ask them to make that thing come to life. You ask them to give that thing a personality. You ask them to give that thing weight, real weight, and I don't just mean popping up and down. They do not have a clue. So they might be able to draw for an illustration. They might be able to draw for a fine art class. But to draw for animation is to be able to really understand what illusion is, because it's the illusion of life. So it's quite all right if your drawing skills are weak, because if you want to be a real animator, you'll find that as you start learning how to draw these simple shapes start to divide and split themselves. And as they divide and split themselves, you'll find that these simple shapes start to represent things, right? They start to represent things. And the more and more you go on your journey, you'll find that these shapes, when you're working with these shapes and moving these shapes, suddenly you're able to start refining those shapes, turning those shapes into things that have meaning. And because you know how to move this shape, you can move any fucking shape you want in this world without any effort. And it's all because you didn't have your piss poor ego getting in the way. So, my friend, acknowledging your ability to draw is the first step to the real animator journey, because you have no ego. You have no ego, and you're like an empty cup, ready to learn, with all the nourishment to fill it up. The only problem that can occur It's as if you have no patience and you find yourself getting bored too easily because you want to draw the fun stuff, right? This will come with some discipline, some focus, and some persistence. So you will, you're in a very good position, better than most, to start learning to animate. Right. Now, I'm going to look at the journey of this line. So I'm going to do a double cleanup of this thing here very, very quickly. I'm going to kind of like, so I can see that there's a problem because I didn't really figure out the shape of this heart, right? So there's going to be some creases along the middle there. First things first, I'm going to sort his hand out, right? Nice, fat, round thumb shape, right? So these basic shapes are what we in real animator training call the secret science of shape simplification. And the secret science of shape simplification is like the recipe, like the ingredients that goes into a drawing that will allow you to transform. That's why curves against straights are so important, because they allow you to transform from one shape into another in a seamless way. So this shape here might be, you say, what on earth is that, right? What is that, right? That could be like a fist, right? Let's give him 3-finger fist, right? And this could be the forearm. This could be the shoulder. And simply by turning it into this shape here, right? That fist is down there like that. That forearm. Then simply by turning it into this shape here, right? That fist is an open hand. Like a triangle becomes a square, becomes a rectangle. A rectangle becomes a kind of half triangle square to a triangle. You see, this is why Pablo Picasso's cubism, right, is actually great. Because studio animators are like Picasso. They play with shapes to create the illusion of dimension, movement within 3D, within a 2D plane, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna put one big shape on here. I'm gonna put one triangle here, one triangle here, one triangle here, one triangle there. And I'm gonna really kind of like play with this, right? You see how we simplify? You see what those things I was doing was not necessarily anything you couldn't do, right? I just have the knowledge of how to transform the shape, right? That's all it is, a knowledge of how to transform that shape. And that creates the illusion of as if there's some kind of like, it's such a nice ruffled bow, right? And then here we actually have the ribbons. Coming down. Yeah, that's what we want. Perfect. Perfectamundo. Right, we can delete that, and we can turn that like that. So now the first thing I want to do is make sure that this love heart, let me turn it this way. Oh, it doesn't matter. I can just finish her. Sometimes I make the most stupid decisions. Like, why can't I just do that and that? Why am I trying to like make the drawing harder for myself? Right. That's no good. We'll make it simpler like that. Okay, so now I'm not liking that angle because I'm not having command of where I can see the journey of the line. The journey of the line is an extremely important aspect, as mentioned before. You being good at drawing or finished line art. Now, if you want to be a good painter, perhaps the journey of the line is a different journey for you to take, because painting is very much about drawing is very important, but it's about eliminating line. The line is very much in there, but focusing on the shapes, shapes of color, shapes of light, shapes of shadow. Whereas, you know, very, very important. Draftsmanship is always important, but it's a different. That's something why for many years I struggled with painting, because being a draftsman, a hand-drawn animator, everything would be about closing lines, right? Closing lines so that they could be blocked in and colored in, and that, you know, animation art, comic art, they don't always, because they still do the heavy kind of like hatching and shading. But I struggle. That was kind of like, I liked line art, so like I could do comic art fairly easily, but the whole painting thing was very difficult for me to retrain my brain. I know, I understand what makes a good painting. I know to some degree how to paint, but the habitual patterns of closing lines and wanting to draw everything and see the journey of the line, that was something that I'm gonna see, is that, yeah, it should be like this, that affected my any kind of progress that I wanted to make as a painter at all, right? Which is why, you know, you can develop skills, never stop. I mean, I'd like to develop my skills at painting, but I think it's important to establish the strength of what it is that you like to do most, and work in that, work at that. Okay, let's close that down. Right, there we are. There is our image of oh dear, there is our image of Feet and Peg. It'll do. This Peg face is a little bit off for me, but that'll do. That's my image of Feet and Peg together for Valentine's Day. That'll make a good thumbnail for the video. Yeah, it's about the right size. Have it about there. I'm already thinking about the thumbnail. Oh dear. Let's go back here. I've missed something. Oh, never mind. It's not like, see, again, I'm being stupid again. It's not like I can't do it. Goodness me. Oh God, I missed it. I couldn't do the finger. There you go. There it is. Just the finger. Not anything difficult. There we go. Right. That is. Well done, the fingers. There we go. Right. So we have got Peg. I've never really drawn these. I've drawn Pete in a live stream before, but I've never really drawn these characters before. And Mega Man is still on the stream, so this is just for you, Mega Man. Actually, let's open the. Let's go here. This is the progress of the Gracie thriller for Gracie's #1 fan. So this is the progress that we have on the Gracie thriller animation. It's almost a minute of animation done in a relatively short amount of time. So, and I think of her all the time. So, if you guys are liking this and you feel affiliated with Gracie Goodbear in any way, shape, or form, there's a donation link in the description. You know, every little bit of donations that you guys give really does help keep me going with the streams, thanking me for those, or also with producing more top of the range 2D hand drawn animated content, which is not, you know, rotoscope, not AI, pure hand drawn quality animation. So if you guys like Gracie, then please do consider clicking the link and just giving her a little bit of support. Right, and I'm gonna draw Gracie here, giving you. Well, let's draw her giving you guys the eyes. Right, draw her giving you guys the eyes to give her some support. Right, Gracie. You can see the why the Goof Troop characters were kind of like. Let's give her bottom lip there. There we go. Please donate and help Gracie finish her dance. And Gracie would say, pretty please, right? There you go. Alrighty, so that's that. Now, I'm no slacker like the Baloo the Blunder. He's full of quotes. Okay, right now. Let's put the mic on here. Thank you so much for joining me on the live stream. If you guys have any questions, you can always post them in the Facebook group or send me a message via ambanimation.com or type it in the comics in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to consider them and help you guys out during the stream. I don't see I love painting and shading so much. Let's see if any odd questions here. I keep rewatching my old animations. I love them despite at the time thinking it wasn't good enough. Now my stuff is traded. This isn't enough for the joy it brings me now in the future. Absolutely, keep creating. You're always going to keep getting better. You're going to have people like me that'll give you pointers of what's getting better. But then even when you get those pointers down, you'll keep getting better, keep getting better. I keep looking back at the work that I've done from year after year after year, which and thinking, my God, I'm so much better than I was then. But like you, Frog Mayfly, I'm looking back at the work that I did before and also thinking, you know what, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, because there was a lot of not good enough doubt and questioning of the self. But once you kind of get comfortable and confident and you kind of free, things just flow. You get into a flow state and you just start producing more and more. Like, I'm knocking out minutes and minutes of animation. I'm doing it clean, straight, and I'm not caring so much, and it's looking pretty great. That actually rhymed, and I didn't intend it to. I'd like to animate. My heart, mind, and soul are in animation, regardless of course or anything. I breathe this stuff. Absolutely. Okay. Just having a look. Is there anything else? No, I think that's it. We are all done. It's Crystal Eye Candy for animation. This man should be the spokesperson for Gracie Goodbear. Yes, it's wild how back then I thought I could only improve through brutalizing myself. Exactly. Once you let go of things, everything becomes a lot easier. And one of the greatest things to let go of is pride and ego. We think, some of us might think we don't have them, while others know we have them. I certainly knew I had them, but we've all been conditioned to have a sense of shame, a sense of pride. Where there's a sense of shame, there's a sense of pride. Where there's a sense of shyness, there's a sense of vanity. So once all things are let go, silly things, you'll find that things really do start to flow. They really do. Okay, right. As ever, for those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. That R in the back stands for Real Animator Training. It also stands for Keep It Real, which you guys should. As ever, do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake, that little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies will clear, and then from your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. And as ever, remember, especially to the people out there who are suffering from the sickness of software, paper is king. I'll see you all on the next live stream. Bye-bye. Ooh, where do I click stop streaming? Right there.